Hello, everyone. My name is Michael C. Bush, and I'm the Global CEO at Great Place to Work. And I wish I could be with you today, but I look forward to better times when we can spend time together. So I'm beaming in today from Oakland, California. And those of you who are at the Breakers, you are definitely the lucky ones. I know you're at one of the greatest places on earth, being treated magnificently by Paul Leone and his team. So enjoy it. So, I want to spend some time just talking about the thing that we care about, which is people, and about how we make sure that we take care of people, which is the mission of being a great leader and certainly of being a great place to work. As an organization, this is what we strive for. We know that how you treat a person and how they feel and what they experience when they're at work determines how they're going to contribute to the organization. So, this is actually our mission to help great organizations do this. And when we say for all, we mean for all. It doesn't matter where you are in the organization, what your title is, what your rank is, what your gender is, or anything else about you demographically. You should have a great work experience. You should have a great work experience if you have no hair. You should have a great work experience if you have gray hair. You should have a great work experience if you have uniquely beautiful hair. And you should have a great work experience if, because of what you believe in, you choose to cover your uniquely beautiful hair. And you should have a great work experience if you are differently abled or if someone in your family is differently abled. There are some working people who keep these facts about themselves secret or private because they know the workplace isn't one where they're cared about as a person, and people will make limiting decisions regarding their career based on assumptions based on what it must be like to have someone in your family who's differently abled. At a great place to work for all, people are respected and treated as fully formed adults and are allowed to make their own decisions regarding shift changes or taking additional challenges at work. So, this is a very important notion, this idea of being a great place to work for all. Now, we know this is better for business. There are analysts who always look at our list every year that we publish, and they look at the stock performance and financial performance of companies that we say are great places to work for all compared to companies that are not. And companies that are great places to work for all on the stock market, so that's public information, outperform those who are not on a 4-to-1 basis. So this is verifiable. And we take a look at private companies too, and the companies on our list tend to be outstanding organizations with extremely great financial performance. We already know it's better for people when you care for them, and people who feel cared for at work and respected at work are better for the world. Everything that I'm sharing with you today comes from our data. We survey 10 million employees every year, over 10,000 different companies in 98 countries. So we know a lot about working people in every single industry on earth. So everything I'm sharing with you today comes from employees and their experience at work. We publish our data freely through our media partners because every place should be a great place to work. And we have a book on the subject as well. And recognition. We work with companies and we want to tell the world about how great they are because it helps these companies keep great talent and recruit great talent. And it also helps us let the world know the benefits of being a great workplace for all and how it helps your business thrive so more people will create this experience. And those of you who are at the Breakers are at a place that was on our 2019 Best Workplaces for Diversity and Inclusion, which is the Breakers, determined by the analytics at Great Place to Work and by Fortune magazine. So you're moving through a facility that knows everything about creating a great place to work for all. It all starts with trust, the feeling that we have for the people that we work with and the people that we work for. We measure that. The purpose and values. An organization that's a great place to work for all is doing much more than just generating great financial returns. It cares about people. It cares about the community. And we know the values that need to be present in an organization that actually lives out its values. Leadership effectiveness. I'm going to be talking a lot about this today because leaders determine 70% of a person's work experience. So it's up to leaders. Maximize human potential. This is how we calculate the for all. We reward companies where if you're a greeter in the front of the hotel when a person drives up, or a receptionist behind the desk, or a person who cleans the room, or a person who arranges a spa appointment, we measure the work experience of all those people and we reward companies that everybody's having a consistent experience. And we penalize companies where it's great at the top, but it's not so great when you're on the front lines. and innovation by all. A place that's thriving, everybody in the organization is innovating to try and find a better way to make sure that the customer, the guest, has a magnificent experience, which is what innovation is all about. Always finding a way to do things better, to do things faster, to do things more cost effectively at a higher quality or performance level. And everybody with a smartphone should be innovating on behalf of the organization. We did a survey about 5 months ago, and we call it the CEO Big Three to see what's on CEOs' minds. No surprise. COVID-19, the economy, and racial tension. So on top of everything else, these are three new factors that are on top of every organization, and certainly in the front of the minds of the CEO. And when you add these three factors on top of business complexity, what you have is an organization that has more fear. And fear around things like physical health. Always important, but more important in 2020 and 2021. More fear in terms of mental health. Always important, but never more important than in 2020 and in 2021. We did a survey about 7 months ago and found that 45% of all working people felt that their mental health had deteriorated as a result of COVID-19. We did the same survey 3 months ago, and it's now up to 65%. And I believe 35% of all people are in denial. I don't know anybody, including delusional people like me, who actually feel that there hasn't been some deterioration in terms of their mental health as a result of the experience that we're all living through. And for the first time, burnout's on the rise. We measure it. For 3 years, it was constant, which was great, but it isn't now. It's actually gone to 1 out of 4, and we expect this to keep climbing. Once the trend begins, it just tells us what's going to be happening for the rest of 2020 and into 2021. And what can we do about it? Well, management has a lot to do with it. That's why we spend so much time talking about leadership. So what can leaders do to try and make sure that they are not doing things in a way that actually increases burnout? So we look at the analytics that we get to predict burnout. So if people don't believe in management, burnout's coming. If people don't think that management trusts them, burnout is coming. If people don't feel that management is involving them in decisions that affect their work, burnout is coming. And if people feel that leaders don't care for them as a person and they just treat them like an employee, burnout is coming. So these are the things that we can do now to try and stem this thing that seems inevitably, just when there's a lot of stress, it's not inevitable. There's a lot that we can do about it. One of the things we can do is involve people. And we can involve people in things like wellness. What can we do to make sure that as an organization, we are helping people develop healthy habits where they can take care of themselves and know that we expect them to do it. We need to inspire them to do it, and in some cases, require them to do it. So we have best companies that are requiring meditation and walking, 2 times a day, 15-minute walks, so you don't just go from video meeting to video meeting to video meeting. We have some great organizations who are requiring small groups getting together to talk about what are they doing in terms of parenting now with the change. What are they doing to take care of an older parent or in-law or friend or community member based on what's going on with COVID-19. So things are going from suggestions to requirement because some organizations know that people are just going to do better, and so are the organizations, if they are focusing on their well-being. And the organization knows this and therefore is willing to make a requirement, as they do in other parts of their business. And lead with purpose and values, which, if you are believing in far more than just profitability, you care about these things and you're respecting people for the situations that they're in and making things more flexible, especially during these uncertain times, in terms of their schedule and what they need to take care of their families and their communities, as well as take care of their customers when they get to the work. People should fear things like this, but fear isn't good at work. It separates people into groups of people that have similar fears. This stops inclusion, something that every organization needs, stops innovation, something that every organization absolutely needs now, and it makes people think small. And they start thinking about, what can we do to get 2% growth or 3% growth, or just to kind of keep things the same? Can't we just hold things together? Instead of, what can we do as an organization in total to achieve our purpose? The reason that we're here, which is far beyond my department or your department, or my part of the United States and your part of the United States, or North America versus Europe. In total, what can we do to make things better? Safety is what we need, and this is what we measure. We measure emotional, psychological, and physical safety, all the underpinnings of wellness. And on top of that, you've got other stressors going on beyond emotional and psychological and physical safety, things that are destabilizing like financial health. This is what our survey revealed. People are worried about it. Everybody knows someone now who has been laid off, or multiple people who have been laid off. And we have a divided country. We want to pretend that these things don't affect people, but this division affects well-being. So what we have to try and create is a culture where people are feeling trusted and cared for, and that they can be themselves and talk about things that are difficult to talk about, which is needed for their well-being. You can't ask a person to meditate, to take care of themselves, and to exercise, and to eat a certain way, and then to come to work and pretend that life is no longer happening and you have to behave differently at work. People want to come and bring the whole person, which is hopefully balanced and thoughtful and calm and being of service to others, but they want to work around people who know that there are stressors going on in society, and that makes them trust you as a leader and trust you as a coworker. Because people all want the same thing. They want to be respected by the leader that they work for. They want to believe that the leader that they work for is credible and honest with them. And most importantly, they want to believe that their leader is fair. They want to enjoy the people that they work with, so how we interact with each other, how we take care of one another has a lot to do with creating a great place to work for all. And they want to have pride in their work. And underneath pride is care. That's what we're measuring here. Whether you are feeling that someone cares for you as a person and is suggesting things to you and providing things to you that are going to show how much you are actually cared for. This creates this sense of camaraderie, this sense of team, being a part of a group that are creating an experience or a product or a service that is magnificent that no one could do on their own. It takes a group of people committed to the same purpose in order to accomplish that. One of the questions that we ask is, how many meaningful opportunities have you had to develop new and better ways of doing things at work? If people are asked this question, and if the answer is, I've had a lot of opportunities, it changes the work experience. You can correlate between people who are getting a lot of meaningful opportunities to develop new and better ways to whether they exercise. You can correlate the answer to this question to whether people are taking thoughtful time off, whether people are serving others and participating in teams, whether people are interacting in a healthy way with others, whether people are listening to one another. So this is a very important question which helps us predict and know when we've got an issue going on around a person and their well-being, which is the opposite of burnout. And we track what it means. So these are three things that we take a look at. Do people look forward to coming to work? Do people feel the organization is agile and adaptable? And would you suggest to friends and family to come and work at the organization? Well, looking at well-being and the experience that leaders create actually helps us know whether you're going to be in an accelerated or great environment or one that isn't. So leaders must care the most. It's really up to us. And there are 5 different types of leaders. There are some that are underdeveloped and aren't that good at it yet. Well, these leaders are going to create an experience for some that includes burnout and a lack of feeling like you're cared for. These beginning leaders or these underdeveloped leaders create a positive experience for, say, 28% of the people who work for them. If they work harder and get better, the 28 goes to 47%. We're heading in the right direction. And then if they work hard and get better, it goes to 62%. And then this is where we want to be, where 80% of the people are feeling like they're cared for as a person and not just as an employee. And then these leaders also find that the way they make that happen, beyond managing and accountability, is these behaviors. Things that make sense to all of us in our audience. And as leaders, we just want to remind ourselves, are we doing these things or not? Because if you're listening, you're going to know what a person needs, and then it's up to you as a leader to make sure that people are getting it. And then there's these elite levels of leaders like Paul Leone, frankly, who are for all leaders. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've been with the company 6 days or 16 years, you're going to be treated the same by this great leader. So this is what we're all aspiring to and hoping to become. This is what creates an organization where people have a great sense of who they are, they feel cared for, and they're burnout, they're having the opposite experience. Even in times like 2020, they're having the opposite experience where they're thriving at work and caring for others and feeling cared for. People are like this flower. This is what we're focusing on. And people have a way of always getting better, in fact, and changing. when they get feedback and that someone cares for them and that someone's listening to them, this is what well-being looks like. So I hope the rest of your experience is great. I look forward to answering a few questions, and take care. And thank you for having me as a part of the Global Wellness Summit.
Whoa, that was absolutely fantastic. Boy, incredible for the breakers too, I must say. We are so lucky to have Michael with us now. Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here today.
We're sorry you're not here with us in person, but not as sorry as you are that you're not here in person. We know that.
You're absolutely correct.
And welcome to Anna and our global constituents all watching. I'm sure we have questions here in the audience. And Anna, do you want to start? Have you got a question from somebody in our virtual world?
I have lots of questions. And not surprisingly, the first one comes from Shuki Jean-Guy de Gabriac asking, are there insights from international sources, differences between countries?
Well, we survey in 98 countries. As actually this year we're going to survey in 150 countries, and so of course, as we know, there are different cultural norms, local norms, country norms that make what people value different. There are different experiences when you look at the demographic experience, let's say gender, as you move around the world, drastic differences. So we do have unevenness around the world in terms of what we say is a great place to work for all. It means something different in Sweden than it means in the United States, than it means in Colombia, than it means in Brazil. So these things are true, but every place around the world, there's a group of people that are being treated in an inferior way to another group of people. In that way, the world is perfectly consistent. And in terms of what people want, that is the same. That is the same. People want to be around people that they feel care for them, and they want to care for the people who are around them. They want a leader who's going to respect them. Nobody in any corner of the world thinks being disrespected is okay. They might accept it, but nobody thinks it's okay. No one says, "Oh, I'm disrespected today at work, and I love it because of the country I live in." That's not it. As human beings, we have certain things that we desire. At certain parts in the world, we have lower expectations than in other parts of the world, which also means in certain parts of the world we have higher expectations, compared to other parts of the world. But in terms of basic human wants and needs, it's the same.
Do we have a question here in the room at the breakers? Okay, Anna, back to you. We seem to be everybody.
Thank you.
You got a question there for us? Go ahead, Anna.
Okay, I'll do that. And US is, and hi from Sweden. I'm glad you mentioned Sweden. US is a country that are not exactly known to take breaks and vacation. How detrimental is that to productivity as well as mental health?
Well, that's one of those things that if you work in the U.S., you know that, and so therefore that's a norm. It's a norm. So most people in the U.S. don't feel persecuted in terms of their work ethic and work experience until they travel other places. Then they go, wow, I had no idea that people actually took July off or took August off and things like that. So we have offices in 48 countries, and I know that in Europe it's tough to find somebody in August and in the latter part of July. And so, whereas my life is quite different in the U.S. So it's a norm here. I think one of the things that changes is, what does burnout mean? In one country, a violation of, no, you can't take time off this year. You have to work through July and August, and you can't shut down in France, for a week or two. That would lead to burnout. And the U.S., it wouldn't lead to burnout. So that's where the local norms can affect the experience. But no matter where you are, the experience that you have with primarily the person that you work for is what enables you to keep your healthy habits. And so there are a lot of people in the U.S. who work 60, 70 hours a week and still exercise and still meditate and still have a habit of prayer and still watch what they eat and are still of service to others, you're looking at one right now. It is quite possible. But I happen to be doing something that I love to do, and I'm respected by the people that I work with, and I'm expected by my board. The group that I work and serve. Without those things, our research has shown I'll stop doing those things. There are people who have incredible well-being behaviors. We call them healthy habits that will change jobs and stop doing those things. So it's not that a person is so resilient that, oh, anywhere I go, I'm going to take care of myself. The experience that people are having with other human beings has a lot to do with that.
Thank you. Should I go ahead, Nancy, or do you want to intervene?
You get one more question, Anna.
Okay, is that all? No, I'm just joking. And Katie Barnes from Spa Business Magazine, she is asking, and she also, I just want to say, had a great insight in yesterday's breakout brainstorming, is that finding joy is what we need to do right now, everyone. And it was a beautiful insight that she shared with us. But she's also asking, can Micah share any more insights on the survey findings since COVID?
Yeah, so we have something that we called a COVID survey to basically find out what was going on around the world. As we know, that there are some people who can find joy in any situation. Not everyone can do that. So for some, it's something you can say, something you can recommend and give suggestions. It's uneven in terms of people's ability based on personality type and so on to actually make that transformation. But there are things we can do to help people make that transformation. But what we learned in the survey, the people who are having the toughest experience are those who are living alone and are distant from family. Very, very tough experience. Are those who have young children at home, especially in the return when there was no school at all. Tough experience. Someone who had an elderly person in the home with health issues already, and then therefore having to keep their family distant from them in the same physical space. So the COVID experience it was difficult for everyone, but more difficult for those who are in the categories that I just described, compounded by, while a lot of people were working like we're working now, there are a lot of people going to work every single day. They never worked from home. They continued to deliver packages, to deliver the mail, and so on. So there was no break. So they were actually going through taking a risk of their health every single day and coming home to their family. That was an additional stressor. So these are the things that are highly unusual, meaning all of society going through these multiple levels of stress. And of course, all of that stress showed up in this another finding, which is, an average weight gain of 7 to 10 pounds during the last 9 months. Everybody has a COVID layer. Many people do. So, and alcohol consumption being up 33%. So maybe people are exercising, but they're drinking more too. So you putting those things together, that's really the COVID experience.